It made me different than everyone else. I may be very introverted as a child. How are you? How are you?
Good, thank you. So I read that growing up, you were an introverted kid, which led you to discover comic books, Spider-Man, the Hulk.
It may be different than everyone else. I may be very introverted as a child. Lou Ferrigno lost 80% of his hearing at just 3 years old. Kids called him Deaf Louie and broke his hearing aids at home. His father hit him when he cried about bullies. He built muscles from junkyard scraps to never feel weak again. But success brought new pain. For 5 years, he suffered through Hulk makeup sessions that burned his skin. He tore his bicep, saving his daughter from being crushed. Now at 71, his wife of 43 years has left him, claiming he used his Hulk-like size to scare her. The tragedy of Lou Ferrigno is beyond heartbreaking. Lou Ferrigno was born in 1951, but from the very beginning, life didn't give him an easy start. As a toddler, he suffered from brutal ear infections, not the kind that go away in a week, but the kind that leave permanent damage. By the time he turned 3, he had lost 75 to 80% of his hearing. But the scary part is that no one even knew until then. His parents only realized something was wrong when they clapped their hands behind him and got no reaction. That delay meant he spent his earliest years in near silence, without anyone realizing he couldn't hear. When doctors finally figured out, he was fitted with hearing aids. But this was the 1950s. They weren't tiny or subtle. They were big, awkward boxes strapped to his chest with wires dangling from them. Lou hated how they made him look. He once said he felt like a Martian freak. These devices helped him hear a little louder, but not clearer. And because he missed so much language development early on, his speech was already different. People noticed, and kids at school didn't go easy on him. They called him Deaf Louie and Deaf Mute, mocked the way he talked, and some even hit him in the chest just to break his hearing aids. He couldn't fight back. He was small, skinny, and slow. He often felt like an outcast, so he escaped into comic books. He read about Superman, Spider-Man, and especially the Hulk, characters who didn't fit in but had hidden power. Those stories gave him something school never did. At home, life wasn't any softer. His father, a tough Brooklyn cop named Matthew Ferrigno, didn't believe in making excuses. When Lou came home crying from bullies, his father didn't comfort him. He hit him. "Don't come home if you can't fight your own battles," he said. When Lou's grades slipped because he couldn't lip read from the back of the classroom, his dad locked the basement gym and said it would stay locked until his grades improved. Lou later said, "My father rejected me because I wasn't perfect." But instead of breaking him, that rejection lit a fire. He wanted to be so strong that no one could ever hurt him again. So Lou adapted. He sat in the front row of every class, learning to read lips like a hawk. If a teacher turned their back to write on the board, he was lost, but he kept going. Sometimes he didn't even tell teachers he was deaf. He was too ashamed. But he watched, observed, guessed, and figured things out from people's faces and body language. It was exhausting, but he got through school using sheer focus and grit. Everything changed in 1964, when Lou was 13. He was watching TV and saw a movie called Hercules. Steve Reeves played the title role, and to Lou, it was like watching a real-life superhero. Reeves wasn't just strong. He looked like the comic book characters Lou idolized. Right then, Lou knew what he wanted. He didn't just want to read about strength. He wanted to become it. Especially the Hulk. He once called the Hulk the Green Santa Claus, powerful but kind. Lou wanted to be that. He wanted to be strong enough to never be bullied again. But gyms were expensive, and his family had no money for that. So he made his own weights. At just 13, he went to the junkyard, found some old cans, filled it with cement, and stuck them on a broomstick. That was his first barbell. For a bench, he nailed 2 big wooden boxes together, used some hinges, and even tossed a pillow on it to soften the pain. "It hurt my back," he said. Lou Ferrigno's journey to success was paved with immense struggle and resilience. He said, "But I tried to imitate everything I saw in the magazines." Lou kept training like this for years, and by 17, he finally joined a real gym, R&J Health Club. By that time, however, he had already built a solid body, using nothing but scrap metal and sheer determination. Yet, bodybuilding didn't pay the bills. So in 1969, at just 17, Lou got a job at a brutal sheet metal factory in Brooklyn. It paid $10 an hour, which was decent back then, around $75 today. But it was dangerous, loud, and filled with machines that could rip off fingers. For someone who was nearly deaf, it was a nightmare. But Lou kept working because he needed the money for food and supplements. While others ate sandwiches, he packed boiled eggs, tuna, and cottage cheese to fuel his workouts. Then, in 1972, everything changed. A coworker got his hand crushed by a hydraulic press right next to Lou, and that was a final straw. He walked out and never came back. There was no job security in bodybuilding, no paycheck waiting, but Lou took the risk, and it paid off. In 1973, at just 21 years old, Lou Ferrigno shocked the world by winning both Mr. America and Mr. Universe. No one his age had done that before. He stood 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighed around 285 pounds. He looked like a giant next to other bodybuilders. What made his rise even more powerful was what he had already survived as a child. Lou had lost most of his hearing due to an ear infection, and as a kid, he was bullied. He started lifting weights not just to get strong, but to feel less alone. A year later, in 1974, he did the unthinkable again. He won Mr. Universe a second time. In 1975, he entered Mr. Olympia. He didn't win, but placing third put him among the sports elite. That same year, everything changed once again. A documentary called Pumping Iron began filming, following the rivalry between Lou and Arnold Schwarzenegger. Lou had the size. He was nearly 50 pounds heavier than Arnold, but Arnold had something else. He played mind games. He invited Lou and his parents to breakfast before the competition over eggs and coffee. Arnold smiled and said Lou just needed one more month to be ready, then bragged about being a 6-time champion as if he'd already won again. Lou called Arnold arrogant, but Arnold's tactics worked. Lou placed third, and Arnold took home his 6th title. Even with 2 Mr. Universe wins, Lou was broke. Bodybuilding didn't pay. For 3 years, Lou worked in a Brooklyn metal shop, making $10 an hour. By 1975, he had to quit competitions. He was still in peak shape, but prize money couldn't pay his bills. In 1980, Lou married Carla Green. He had only $5,000 saved, and Carla had $7,000. That was it. She once said, "We built our money in our home, and we built it from nothing." Lou's size was unheard of at the time. His arms measured 23.5 inches, bigger than Arnold's. He could deadlift 900 pounds, though no one ever confirmed it. Still, his strength was real, and so was his size. Tall bodybuilders usually looked lanky. Lou didn't. He was massive but still balanced, and all of it came before the steroid-heavy era. His muscles were built through sheer effort, discipline, and a need to prove he belonged. In 1975, at just 24, Lou shocked fans again. He walked away from bodybuilding. He wasn't injured, he wasn't beaten. He just couldn't afford to keep going. Most competitions paid just $1,000. In 1977, everything changed again. The people behind the Incredible Hulk wanted someone massive to play the Green Beast. At first, they called in Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was 6 feet 1 inch in pure muscle, but they said he wasn't tall enough. They then tried someone else, 7 feet 2 inches Richard Kiel, the guy who played Jaws in the James Bond movies. They even began filming with him. But then something strange happened. The director's young son visited the set and took one look at Kiel in costume. He told his dad, "That's not the Hulk." Just like that, everything changed. They started looking again, this time for someone who looked like the Hulk from the comics. Huge, ripped, and scary. At that same moment, Lou Ferrigno was busy training for the 1977 Mr. Olympia. Out of nowhere, he got a call for an audition. He showed up, they painted him green, and told him to just be like the Hulk. Lou said he stood in front of the camera, growled, and moved like a beast. They hired him on the spot. He gave up his shot at the Olympia to take the role. That one decision changed his entire life. But the real work hadn't even started. Each filming day began with nearly 4 hours of makeup. It wasn't just paint. It was thick, chalky green pancake makeup that stuck to everything. They added layers, 6 of them. Then came the fake forehead, fake nose, and custom-made teeth. The worst part was the white contact lenses. He could only wear them for 15 minutes at a time because they hurt so much. During the pilot episode, Lou stayed in full Hope makeup for 20 straight hours. That's right, 20. It was so intense that he had to get a private shower built into his trailer just to scrub off the paint. The physical toll of Lou Ferrigno's transformation into the Hulk was brutal. The green paint would come off, and even his toenails stayed green for 6 months. The constant makeup sessions were grueling, and one time, during a 1978 scene where the Hulk was supposed to lift a car, Lou tore a muscle. He also suffered chemical burns from the green makeup, especially on hot days when filming occurred outdoors in over 100 degrees Fahrenheit heat. The weight changes were insane, too. For some scenes, he had to bulk up quickly, then slim down for interviews. His nutritionist warned him it was dangerous. But Lou pushed through. His skin broke out from prosthetics, and he needed treatment between seasons. In 1981, he told People magazine that the stress, chemicals, and lack of sleep had aged his body to 42, even though he was only 30 at the time. Still, Lou pushed himself harder than anyone else. He did 95% of his own stunts, going against CBS's safety rules. But he didn't care. He believed no stuntman could act like the Hulk the way he could. One time, he ran through a fake wall that wasn't built properly and hurt his back, but he kept filming. On another occasion, at 4 a.m., a scene needed the Hulk to flip a car using wires. The equipment failed, and Lou was tired, angry, and covered in green paint. He shouted, "You think I'm not going to turn that car over?" And, using pure strength, flipped the car himself. He later said, "I think I really became the Hulk that night." That back injury still causes him pain, even now. But if you ask him whether it was worth it, he'll tell you he has no regrets. Things got even harder because of his hearing. Lou had lost most of his hearing at age 3 due to ear infections, and he had to read lips to follow directions on set. That worked fine in quiet scenes, but during action shots, it was chaos. Directors couldn't yell cut, so Lou had to guess when a scene was over. Sometimes his hearing aids broke mid-shoot, and he missed important safety cues. He eventually wore 2 at once just to stay aware, but still, he kept going. Many fans didn't know that the Hulk's growls and roars weren't always his own. At first, Ted Cassidy, who played Lurch in the Addams Family, did the voice. After Cassidy's death in 1979, Charles Napier took over. Lou wasn't the official voice, but that changed decades later. In 2012, for The Avengers, Lou's voice was finally used. His growls and screams were blended with Mark Ruffalo's, and again in Age of Ultron in 2015. That meant Lou Ferrigno's voice had been part of the Hulk for 37 years, longer than anyone else. But the fame wasn't easy. Fans loved the Hulk, but not Lou. They'd approach him, excited and wide-eyed, but never call him by name. They didn't see the man under the paint. Over time, that started to wear on him. He once said that being recognized for a character he couldn't even talk through felt strange. He had dreamed of being a hero since he was a kid reading comic books. Now he was one, but nobody knew who he really was. Even on set, he was alone. The makeup was thick and hot, and between takes, he had to stay in an air-conditioned trailer just to avoid overheating. While Bixby and the crew laughed and bonded, Lou sat by himself, sweating and waiting. It mirrored the Hulk's own loneliness, always on the outside, always misunderstood. In 1983, Lou Ferrigno was ready to live his dream. He had always looked up to Steve Reeves, the original Hercules, and now it was his turn to play the legendary strongman. The movie was called Hercules, but it wasn't anything like the stories from ancient Greece. It was packed with lasers, robots, and wild sci-fi effects. Ferrigno trained harder than ever, claiming he was in the best condition of his life. His muscles were enormous. Some said they looked like they might pop. But when the movie hit theaters on August 26th, something felt off. Ferrigno's voice wasn't his. Every single word he said had been dubbed by another man, Mark Smith. But to Lou, that wasn't enough to justify removing his voice. It was a shame, he said later. That would have made the movie more of a classic. What hurt even more was seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger, his longtime rival, face the same dubbing years earlier in Hercules in New York. Yet Arnold's career took off, while Lou stalled. The film flopped, and people in Hollywood started calling Ferrigno a one-note actor. Behind the scenes, things were even worse. In 1980, Lou married Carla Green. Between them, they had just $12,000. Carla brought $7,000, and Lou had the rest. It was shocking for Lou Ferrigno, especially for someone who had just played the Hulk in a hit TV series from 1977 to 1982, but fame didn't equate to fortune. Before becoming a star, Lou worked for $10 an hour in a brutal Brooklyn sheet metal factory. One day, a man lost his hand in a machine, and Lou quit the same week. After the Hulk show ended, the money dried up fast, and that's when Carla stepped in. She became his manager, booking his appearances and hitting the road with him to rebuild their life. "We built our money in our home, and we built it from nothing," she said later. In 1991, they hit a breaking point when Vince McMahon, the wrestling tycoon, offered Lou $500,000 a year, nearly $875,000 today, to join his new World Bodybuilding Federation. Lou said no, but the fact that he almost said yes showed just how bad things had gotten. That same year, Ferrigno tried to return to bodybuilding after 17 years since his last competition. McMahon made him the biggest offer ever given to a bodybuilder, $500,000 annually, which beat anything Arnold ever made. However, there was a catch. McMahon wanted all athletes to pass drug tests for 3 months straight, and Lou didn't like that idea. On the other hand, Joe Weider, a bodybuilding legend, offered Lou $250,000 in cash and $250,000 in ads for his sportswear line. Lou chose Weider, and in 1992, at 41 years old, Lou stepped onto the stage at Mr. Olympia. He placed 12th, which, after so many years away, was more than respectable. It was a comeback. But Lou's most powerful moment wasn't on stage or on screen. In 2020 at home, his daughter Shauna was playing near his truck when a 1,000-pound air compressor tipped over. In an instant, Lou dove forward and grabbed a machine, stopping it from crushing her. However, he tore his biceps clean off the bone in the process. "It sounded like a shirt ripping," he recalled. When he looked down, his arm looked like a child's, with the muscle curled up into his armpit. It was one of the worst injuries a bodybuilder could suffer, and he was heartbroken, knowing his career was on the line. But an NFL player named Bubba Smith sent him to a surgeon the very next day. After 6 painful months, Lou was back. He could deadlift 600 pounds again, showing that not only was he strong, but he was also a father who would do anything, even tear his own body apart, to protect his child. In the early 90s, something strange happened in Hollywood. Lou Ferrigno, the giant green Hulk from TV, quietly became Michael Jackson's personal trainer. No one saw it coming. It was a fitness gimmick or a photo op. It started because Jackson's surgeon said Ferrigno was the only one who could help him. Jackson couldn't train in public. So Lou came to him 3 to 4 times a week, visiting Jackson's home. But this was about lifting weights. It was about flexibility, pain management, back issues, light treadmill work, stretching, balance balls, and carefully designed routines to keep Jackson moving on stage without falling apart. All the while, Jackson lived on a strict vegetarian diet, sometimes eating only once a day when preparing for big shows. As the years passed, something deeper formed between them. They talked about their childhoods. Both had strict fathers who pushed them hard. One was the strongest man on TV. The other was the most famous performer in the world. One day, Jackson taught Ferrigno how to moonwalk right there in the private gym. Lou said it felt astronomical. After workouts, Jackson would turn into a kid again, playing hide-and-seek with his children. Ferrigno watched as the king of pop became just Mr. Mom. But Lou's life didn't stay in Hollywood. In his 50s, at age 53, he shocked everyone again. He put on a different kind of uniform this time, as a real cop. Not a TV role, not a stunt, but he trained, took tests, passed background checks, earned his firearm certification, and finished first aid courses. He became a reserve deputy sheriff in Los Angeles County. It wasn't just honorary. He took it seriously. His father had been a lieutenant with the NYPD. So this felt personal. Over time, Lou served in San Luis Obispo and then Irving, Texas. By 2018, he had worn the badge in 3 different places. He said he didn't get shortcuts because of his fame. Everything he did, he earned. Yet, while most people remembered him as the Hulk, a whole new crowd got to know Lou through comedy. Between 2000 and 2007, he showed up in 20 episodes of The King of Queens, playing himself, but not the superhero version. This was a softer, funnier Lou, joking around with Kevin James and getting laughs from live audiences, teasing his own fame and loving it. He said he related to the show because in everyday life, I go through the same thing. Fans who didn't grow up with the Incredible Hulk started liking Lou Ferrigno for something totally different. The scary muscle guy was now just a big, funny neighbor. Then came reality TV. In 2012, Ferrigno joined The Celebrity Apprentice, and that's when things got messy. Fights broke out, tensions ran high, and one moment blew up on screen. Comedian Lisa Lampanelli called Lou and another contestant useless, saying they had 5 brain cells between them. In a tense boardroom face-off, Lou snapped. He said, "Lisa's lucky she's not a man, because if she was, I'd throw her right through that window." It got worse later on when, live on TV, Lou claimed that Lisa's lack of fitness affected her brain. But even with all the drama, his team won $50,000 for the Muscular Dystrophy Association. Lou even danced while mopping in a viral video. He lasted 8 episodes before getting fired in episode 9. Just 3 years later, things turned ugly at home. In 2015, Lou sued his own brother twice. His brother, Andrew, ran a business called Andrew Ferrigno Exercise Equipment. Lou said it wasn't fair. It used their shared last name, but had nothing to do with him. The first lawsuit asked for a disclaimer, and the second asked Andrew to drop the word exercise. At the time, Lou was worth an estimated $12 million. Andrew was furious and told Timothy, "Why does he need to suck me dry? I'm so bewildered." In the end, Andrew gave in and renamed the business, Andrew Ferrigno Equipment. Lou Ferrigno is best known as the original Hulk from the 1970s TV show, but his voice carried into the modern Marvel movies, too. In 2008's The Incredible Hulk, it was Ferrigno growling and roaring behind the scenes. When Hulk slammed Loki and called him a puny god in the Avengers in 2012, it wasn't just Mark Ruffalo. It was a mix of Ferrigno's voice, Ruffalo's tone, and Marvel sound tricks all blended into one. This continued until Age of Ultron in 2015. But after that, when Hulk started talking more like a person in Thor, Ragnarok, Marvel stopped using Ferrigno. He didn't take it lightly. He felt the character was drifting too far from the fierce, primal creature he once portrayed. Off-screen, Ferrigno was hiding a struggle no one saw. At age 3, he lost 85% of his hearing after a serious ear infection. By 4, he had hearing aids, but they never worked well. He couldn't hear his own voice, which shaped the way he spoke for life. People thought he had a strange accent, and he let them believe it. He told some that he had a speech impediment. The truth was more painful. He couldn't hear well enough to pronounce words clearly. His hearing kept getting worse, and by the time he hit his late 60s, his word recognition had dropped to just 18%. Still, he didn't want a cochlear implant. He was scared. That is, until a friend got one and went from 12% to 98% word recognition. That changed everything. In February 2021, at 69 years old, Ferrigno finally had the surgery. The implant didn't just make sounds louder. It sent signals straight to his brain. After 6 weeks, his word recognition jumped from 18% to 65%. He could hear whispers across the room, the ticking of appliances, the distant sound of a car engine, and even his grandkids crying upstairs. He called the experience rebirth. For the first time in his life, he could hear things most people take for granted. He said hearing aids never gave him clarity like this. Now, he tells others not to wait like he did. But what came next shocked everyone. In October 2023, his wife Carla, 74, filed for divorce after 43 years of marriage. She accused Lou of controlling and isolating her, and court records revealed he